gone through addiction? I said, no. And she was amazed. How can you write a poem or a short story about addiction when you've never faced it? But that's the beauty of being an artist, right? That's the beauty of being a vessel, of being used by God to say words, to share stories that other people cannot say it themselves. I don't need to have been through addiction. I don't need to have been through assault. The powerful stories in me, I'm telling you, is not for elementary school students. But I don't need to have been through all of that to write about it. I just need to feel what others are feeling. And that's what storytelling is about. That's why we are artists. That's why we love what we do, right? So thank you all for being here. I will be remiss if I forget to thank PCA, that's the Pennsylvania Council of Arts, the co-sponsor this event. If you're an artist, you're creative in Pennsylvania, that's an agency you need to get acquainted with. They help support arts in all of Pennsylvania. I want to thank all those family and friends that have supported this day to make it what it is. I appreciate you all. It is moments like this that you know who is family, who is friends, when people show up to celebrate this achievement. Again, thank you everyone for being here. And like I said, it's a celebration. So MC, we have to get the talk short because we need to celebrate, right? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. However, I've seen two people that I cannot ignore to introduce. These are my pastor and wife, Pastor Tunde. Mama, you're welcome. We're doing some introduction as we move along, but there's someone you need to hear from this afternoon. She's originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo. She lives in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. She's an independent journalist and co-author of two children's books, Meeting the Okapi and Meeting Moon. She participated in the book in French, where women express their views on what is happening in Congo, with the Pangolin editions based in Belgium. Ladies and gentlemen, when I did the research on this lady, there was a lot I could say, but I needed to summarize, like my boss said, so she could do the rest of the talk. So a big round of applause for Julie.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be here, and I would like to thank everyone for being here today. It's a great honor for me to tell my story as an author, and also to share the experience that I have as an author. The first time I had a pen and a paper and started writing, I was about 10. I was 10 years old at primary school in Gaza. I was telling story, everything that I would see. I would be a doctor, I would be a plumber, everything that I would see, I would put it on the paper and then make it read to my friends. And they really liked what I was writing, so every week they would come back for more stories. And beside writing, I also liked drawing. So I was like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be an artist. I'm gonna be drawing and I'm gonna be a writer. Unfortunately, I had to give up on my drawing dream because economically speaking, they were telling me you will not survive as an artist. You will not be able to pay bills. You will not be able to sustain, because you are an artist. So you have to look for something else. So I had to look for something else. So I became a journalist and I stopped writing altogether. But when something is really in you, it will just catch up. So later on, I left Kinshasa and I went to South Africa, in Johannesburg, where people really liked what I was writing as an independent journalist. They really liked the way I was writing and telling my stories. So I was trying to contribute to different articles in South Africa. And then one day I'm like, I need to tell other people how foreign nationals live here in South Africa. It took years, because I was a bit embarrassed to write. But then it was just one day I woke up and I'm like, I'm gonna write that book. So I wrote my very first book, The Secret of Rainbow Nations. For me, writing a book is so important because it's a way to express myself without being ashamed, without being embarrassed, and just telling things the way you think. A paper will not, so you will just pour everything you have over there. And when other people in the same situation read what you think, they can identify yourself, and that's the most important thing as a writer. And when I came here, I was starting to write my second book, then I stopped. Something I noticed is that children, especially in Africa, don't really have access to those books. We don't usually write for children in Africa. We write for adults, but not really for children. So my main question is, what are we going to pass to our generation? What are they going to know, to remember about our own countries, about Africa in general? Because when you type on Google Africa, it's all about wars, it's all about corruption, it's all about hunger. Is really that what we want our kids to remember, our continent or our mother nations? That's not what I would want my children to remember. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write something to the kids, I'm gonna talk to the kids about Africa, about Congo, but not the way Google tells them. The way I see it, the way it is. So that's when we had to think. And most of the subjects are not really written. We don't talk about it. And then I'm like, okay, let's start with something we don't talk about at all. Have any one of you ever heard about an okapi before? An okapi. An okapi. You see, you are all adults, but most of you don't know about an okapi. The okapi is that animal, half zebra, half giraffe, that is only found in the northern east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In the wild, that's the only place in the whole world where you can find that animal. And right now, that animal is in danger. Why? War, illegal mining. So that part of the forest needs to be protected, because not only those animals live there, not only the okapi, there are many animals, but also the indigenous people. They depend and they rely on that forest. So we wanted to tell kids, by protecting that animal, you're not only protecting the animal, you're protecting the whole forest. By protecting the forest, you're protecting yourself. Because your life as a human being is forest. That forest today is being destroyed. Illegal mining and because of war. They just want to take control of it. So it needs to know what's happening. They need to respect life. If it's an animal, you need to respect that life. So that's how we started to write our first book, Meeting the Okapi. So we had different audiences. We needed to speak to French speakers as kids, and then English speakers too. That's why we published our first book, Meeting the Okapi. Then the okapi is not the only animal that is only found in that part of Africa. There is also another one that is chimpanzee cousin, the bonobo. Not everyone knows about the bonobo. And the same thing is happening to that animal too. We have the same scenario, the forest, the people living in the forest, the respect of life, the respect of environment. So that's how we published our second book, Meeting the Bonobo. So we are very proud because it's a challenge. It's a challenge because, especially in Africa, parents don't usually buy books for the kids. It's a big challenge because you have to convince them to let kids read, because they don't learn anything, everything in school. They have to educate themselves by reading books. and books that are written to them, books that talk to them, their own reality. And that's the big challenge we still have right now. But because we know that things don't happen overnight, we will keep fighting. We will keep writing about those kids, their reality, another way of seeing Africa. Not only that country or that continent when there's war or all the bad things happening, but a continent that you can make life much, much better. That's what we want to implement in those kids' head. That not everything that comes abroad is better than you. You can do better where you are. That's what we're trying to convey as a message to our books. It's still the second book. We will be publishing more books, and we will get there, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. TJ, we have an agreement. Look. So you see, you can bring it out now. So that's the agreement, Christine. Before something short that you love and you enjoy. This afternoon is for fun. I have someone that I'm joining the same color with, and I'm proud to mark the green. She's an executive in the sunlight and a creative in the moonlight. She describes herself as a servant leader in her community. She lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with a 17-year-old son, Charles, an advocate for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. It's the first time I'm hearing that word actually. As a community development banking professional, she offers financial resources and manages to support small-scale business owners, very important. She facilitates workshops on financial literacy and strategic growth planning. Her spirit gets stirred up by creative concepts, poetry, prose, and praise of God's mercy and favor. Black Licorice is her debut novel, and was guided by faith and blessing that self-love attracts true love. If you don't believe these things, or you do, then help me welcome to the stage the ever beautiful Camille Crates. It's a requirement for Christine that when you hear the song, you're coming in, you do some steps. Yeah. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today's event is about our voices. So we're going to do that again. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here in Harrisburg. The young lady I'm sitting at the table with, she says, "You're not from here, are you? Your vibe is a little bit different." I'm a Philly girl, born and raised. So y'all got Philly in the house right now. My name is Camille Creates, and I'm going to share with you my dream alchemy, and I'll explain to you in further detail what that means. Self-love attracts true love. My life is not perfect. My life is progressive. My life is not about trials and tribulations. My life is about transformation. Life is not about lost relationships. My life is about engaging connections. My life is not about fear. My life is about faith.
Strong word.
My life is not about being. My life is about becoming. Today I ask the Lord to forgive my sins. Today I thank the Lord for his favor, family, and friends. Today I thank the Lord for his guidance and grace. Today I thank the Lord for shepherding my purpose and prayer. Black Licorice. So interesting enough, I have here on this piece of art, it says God is not only preparing you for him, he's preparing him for you. The premise of the book is that in order to truly manifest true love, you have to first love yourself. I wrote this book during the pandemic, and what was interesting about it was that I had a conversation with God about identifying my purpose. Now, you have to be careful when you have those conversations with God. Because asking him to identify my purpose, he directed me towards one of my passions, which is writing. And then I realized that in writing Black Licorice, it would become my power. My power over my spiritual awakening, healing, and growth. Because during that time in which I wrote Black Licorice, I lost my mother to COVID in November of 2020. So not only did I ask God to prepare me for my purpose, he would then prepare me for my power, because how do you take power over grief? In order to take the power over the grief that I was feeling, I needed to reconnect with God. Now, I say be careful what you ask for, because when you ask God to take you on a journey, he's just not going to wait for you to pack your bags when the plane is on the tarmac. So you better be ready. And you have to be very specific in your prayer to the Lord, because sometimes you get a little bit of what you did not ask for. So the one thing that I do take from my mother's lessons is be very specific in your conversations with God. But understand that sometimes that whisper in the breeze is him telling you that the journey is about to begin. So Black Licorice became a dream alchemy for me, because it started as a dream. Now, you know when you have that dream and it's a good dream and you try to get back to it and you're right back where you started? Or now you're in a totally different dream. Well, I stayed true to the dream. Part one is the dream. And then I couldn't get it out of my head. Now, remember, I'm a banker, so I was processing payroll protection loans through the pandemic for entrepreneurs and queenpreneurs. But as those numbers were swirling about in my head during the evening, it was words. I wrote this book in the middle. You need to be ready to steer it in the proper direction. Just a few. How many of you like sweet and spicy? The fact that I can share my voice, the fact that I can share my testimony. Because let me tell you, grief is not kind. The kindness comes in the grace of the Lord. And that grace is Black Licorice. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate you, Christine, because she reached out to me on LinkedIn. And she says, hey, do you know anyone who might want to participate? Well, yes, I know me. I could have brought somebody else with me, but it's just me and the Lord. I am Camille Creates, and I always say that I'm from West Philadelphia, born and raised, with small business owners, entrepreneurs, and COIs. Is how I spend most of my days. I am a creative in the moonlight, a banker for entrepreneurs in the sunlight. I appreciate the time, the energy, and your presence. Thank you.
Don't sleep on it. All right. Thank you very much, my brother. I'm looking at all different colors in here, and I see a very bright one. Very bright one. That stands out. So I'm about to introduce that. I have close to 5 pages of introduction for this lady. I said, how am I going to summarize this one? I tried. Summary accolades, first of all. Best artist in Brent by Brent Council London. Top 10 Access at Automatic 2016 Washington, D.C., Distinguished Fellow of the Arts and Culture, FAAC, Advisor on the Automatic Board 2019 and 2020, IO Africa Top 10 2020 Art. Born in Cameroon. Woo! Wow, Cameroonians in the house. Come on now.
And that's in West Africa. I come from West Africa as well.
She and her family migrated to London, where she lived for many years. She has studies across the world, especially in Cameroon, UK, the United States of America. After obtaining an A star and an A in GCSE and A-level respectively, she went on to study architecture. Now, I brought my daughter to come see you because she studied art. She did very well in art. She wanted to be an architect. And I'm sure she's going to get there. She's here, she'll meet you. And I'm sure she's saying, just wrap it up. Prominent public figure such as Roger Miller, Brandy, Faith Evans, James Faulkner, Papa Sel John, Sanfan Thomas, Prince Ndeti Iyango, Samia Nkrumah, who's the daughter of the president of my country, first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Muta Maruka, Angelique Kidjo, Andy Stone, and the list is a very long one. They all own Shiri Atri Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Shiri Atri. Show us a laugh, show us a laugh.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everybody. Such an honor to be here. Great introduction. I am an artist. I started painting when I was 9, like you said, and I lived in London for many years. I'll just give a little background of why I do what I do.
Use the props. You can say if you want to.
Okay. So I started. Okay. So when I was living in London, I realized that a lot of people they were always asking me questions about my attire. You know, what are you wearing? And when I was eating something, what are you eating? Like, you know, they were always wondering about, you know, my culture. And they knew a lot about the South because for some reason, people in England travel to Kenya a lot. But they don't really, you know, verge to the western part of Africa. So I thought, and I had a passion, my love, you know, you find me in the corner painting. And I started painting everyday lifestyle, everyday, you know. And then I thought, you know, I want my work to actually mean something. I want my work to speak and to communicate and to educate and to, you know, do more than just be pretty. So I started painting different aspects of culture. I started, of course, with the Kenyan because that's what they most related with because I was in England. And then I started painting, you know, different aspects of Nigerian culture, Cameroon, and you know, I go to Ghana and I'll pick up little things and I'll paint that. And my aim is to paint like different aspects of all the various parts of different parts of Africa, you know, in a way that, you know, a Somalian will see something and go, oh, that's from my culture. In a way that somebody from Morocco would see something, oh, that's from Morocco. And of course, Africa is huge and it's a huge feat, but if I can, I will keep doing what I do. And what I do is I travel around. Because to me, African culture is so beautiful that I want to share it with the world. I travel every year. I take a new country and I say, well, I'm going to make my work as limited edition prints, and I'll travel around. And so I did that first in London, and then I did in DC, then Australia. Jamaica. I would travel from country to country because I wanted to show different aspects, you know, show different people all around the world, you know, the beautiful everyday life in Africa. Everyday life, because typically my work does show everyday life. It shows food, it shows mommy walking with her baby in the back, it shows, you know, it's just everyday life. I find it so beautiful. And people used to ask me, why do you love, like you grew up in London, why are you so drawn? Why do you keep insisting on painting, you know, the everyday life, even though you're out of it? I mean, it's something that I can explain. I guess it's what God put in me. You've always seen me wearing and being very proud of my culture. And I also love it when everybody else are also very proud of their culture. So I guess it's just a thing that I love culture. I love, like, you know, when people really appreciate who they are, you can't change who you are. You know, God made you the person that you are. So for me, when you honor that, when you celebrate that, it's wonderful. So when I have exhibitions, for example, in Australia, people tell me, oh, I want to travel to Cameroon or to Africa. Haven't seen something through my work. That is what gives me the greatest joy. I say, oh, I want to, you know, like it's like it's more than anything. Just the fact that they want to actually go to Africa to see the beauty for themselves. Okay, so Christine here, she actually purchased some of my paintings, and then she got in contact with me and she said, oh, could you do the cover of my book? I'm like, yay! Because I love working, I love doing new projects. And she's a great, she was great to work with because she had an idea, but she was also very open to suggestions. So we worked very well together. And so we came up with this painting for the book cover, that you see right here, which of course you should see. And should I do the reveal of the painting? Yeah. So of course it's going to be exactly the same thing, right?
So this is the official reveal. I will give her the honor to do that. There you go.
She was very specific. She loves the color green. She loves the color purple. And we wanted to fragment. She loves the idea of the fragmentation of the face. And somehow it relates to the fragmentation, like the voices. Our voices are different. Our voices are many. Our voices are, you know, unique in their, you know, our voices being different in their own way. So there you go. I wish you all purchase and support the book. And yeah, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the official review of the cover of the book that we're just about to sit on. Thank you very much, Sri. Great. So there's a little manual to what we'll be doing from this time on. But let me introduce the woman of the afternoon so she can take us through it. Yes, they're consulting. So when you see creative minds get together and talk, you should see that something creative comes. Should I got influenced by the way you put it on the side, so yeah, I'm trying mine to do it. It's a good influence too. So, I mean, as a consult, let me just say, when I was asked to help with this, it tickled my fancy as well because my first degree was in theater arts, specifically majored in dance. So first time I came to this country, 2000, it was through dance in North Carolina, Duke University. I was teaching a big crowd of students.